Hello everyone, and welcome to our very first digital play in the Data Analytics Playbook. Back in July at NHSA's Manager and Director Academy, we hosted a session that explained the Data Analytics Playbook and reviewed several examples. We've taken excerpts from that session and put them together here so that you have a chance to learn more about how to use the playbook as well. We hope you enjoy. So as you're looking at this, whenever you click into anything, the very first thing you see is the question that they're trying to answer in running this play, and at least the main graph that they created as part of that, to give you kind of a sense of what's going on. And then just below that, the first chunk of text that you'll see is the narrative. And the narrative is really the summary of this whole play. So this is the part that I'd recommend reading if you're trying to understand if this play is the right thing for you. And then all the other sections that come below it get more and more in depth into the details. You know, this program wanted to see how children were developing in terms of school readiness. They looked at growth and development from fall to spring using TSG, which is just what they used. So in this narrative, they give that graph and the results to their board, their policy council, they put it in their annual report. So that's how they use this play. And then they also do this analysis at the center and classroom level, which is, more used to inform their direct service staff. And they also do this work at the mid-year point, to inform adjustments to their teaching and the other practices in their programs. And before we really read what they did with this play and what they learned, I want you all to take a look and write down some of your observations and write down, what do you see here? So a few things that I noticed when going through this, they're obviously not the only ones, but to give you an idea of some of the things that you might see. I noticed that math is lower than everything else in the spring. Lots of growth from fall to spring. That just kind of makes me wonder, right? Is it this year, or is this a regular pattern that math is a little bit lower at the end of the year? Is it perhaps that our curriculum isn't working? It's not the right math curriculum to be using with this population of students, right? That 10% that isn't there. Are teachers not implementing it with fidelity? Is it a really hard one to use? I also noticed the fall scores for the 3 domains on the right are really high in the fall. That's one of those things that just makes me go, huh? Spanish language scores are low in the fall compared to other things, but the growth there is huge and catches up, which is great and something we'd like to see. And then as an overall question, I'd want to know, loosely stated when we're looking at those orange bars, the spring percentage, I'd want to know, is that an improvement from past years? Is that a decline? Is that expected? I just want to know, what is our pattern year over year? And then I'd want to know, how does that compare to my peers nationwide? And so that then brings us to say, well, what do you do with this information? So let's focus on those math scores at 90%, since that was a little bit lower than everything else. What are some of the possible reasons that math scores in the spring might be lower than the other subjects? So the next question I'd want to think about is, are there any segments of the data that you'd like to look at if you were trying to answer some of these questions? What breakdown or further information would you want? And then I'm going to push you to think, who else would you want to be a part of this conversation when you're looking at this data and trying to understand the reasons and the whys? What would your next steps be from here if you were doing this at your program? And then the analysis section in one of these plays really outlines the analysis that the program did. Next up in the playbook, they really explain the results, right, and what they saw. The additional details section of the play gives some quick facts like the intended audience, level of analysis, the difficulty that's outlined here. This one is considered moderate because you have to actually, do some manipulation of the data in Excel. Considerations and caveats gives you some warnings or information. The technical appendix outlines all the details from, how you pull the data from the teaching strategy system, if you're not familiar with how to do that. It explains those categories of percentages are actually adding the meeting and exceeding expectations groups together. And I actually added in there an Excel template so that you can actually download. All you have to do if you download that Excel file is to type in the data yourself, and it will auto-populate. So join us online to see the full data analytics playbook and read the entire use case that we just covered in this video. And don't forget to leave any comments or questions that you have on the use case or at our Contact Us page. We hope to hear from you.